subhanallah is a charity. Every time you say Allahu Akbar is a charity. Every time you enjoin good or call someone to do good, that's a charity. Every time you forbid evil or make someone stop doing something wrong, that's a charity. وَيُجْزِئُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ. What will actually take care of the whole 360 joints of your body when it comes to sadaqah is 2 rak'ahs. Rak'ata al-duha, which is 2 rak'ah, which is the sunnah. You pray. What time is this sunnah? It is actually between after the sun rises. In the horizon you can see it actually between the horizon and the sun is about a spear length. And then az-zawal is about 15 minutes before salat al-dhuhr. My brothers and sisters in Islam, I stand before you today as any and every Jumu'ah, as a reminder, not just to you, but a reminder to myself. So I'm reminding myself, reminding my brothers and sisters who are present with me today. Reminding each other of what? Reminding each other of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Quran, and the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's what the reminder is about. And I hope, and I pray, that each and every one of us go through those doors with something that he has learned, and he will implement in his life. That's what Jumu'ah is for. That's what Islam is about. It's not about just learning, it's about learning and implementing and teaching. That's what Islam, if you want Islam to be really strong, you want to be strong in your deen, in your Islam, this is what you do. Learn, practice, and teach. My Jumu'ah today, my khutbah today is about a concept in Islam. A very beautiful concept. Actually, the word itself that describes this concept is the word goodness, or good, perfect. It's called al-ihsan. Jibreel alayhi salam, Jibreel, he's the angel Jibreel, came to the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the narrator of the hadith told us that when we saw a man coming to our gathering, a man who did not have any sign of travel, yet he's a stranger, he's not from Medina. Not only that, he went straight to the Prophet ﷺ and sat in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he started asking the Prophet ﷺ questions, and when the Prophet ﷺ gives his answers, he approves the answers. Instead of just saying, it's like he's not there to learn, he's there for something else. When he left, the Prophet ﷺ called Umar ibn Khattab, do you know who was here? Or do you know who is that man? He said, no. He said, that was Jibreel in the form of humans. He came to teach you your religion. The whole hadith is not my topic today. But one aspect of the hadith. Jibreel, when he sat in front of Rasulullah, he's asking a question, he told him, tell me what is Islam? And he told him, Islam is the 5 pillars. He described the 5 pillars. Tell me what's Iman. He told him about Iman. He told him, tell me what's Ihsan. Ihsan, really, you can't. To be honest, you can't translate it in English with one word. Ihsan, it's a word with a lot of meanings. It's a word that you practice in your life. Ihsan means you're good, you're kind, you're good and kind, and you perfect anything that you do. That's what it's ihsan. And it's divided in 2 folds. One fold, which is the ihsan in your acts of worship, when you are, with a lot of meanings. It's a word that you practice in your life. Ihsan means you're good, you're kind, you're good and kind, and you perfect anything that you do. That's what it's ihsan. And it's divided in 2 folds. One fold, which is the ihsan in your acts of worship. When you are praying, you are muhsen. You need to be muhsen. You need to pray good, in a good way. Perfect your prayer. Make sure that your prayer is perfect. You give sadaqah in a good sadaqah in a good way. That's ihsan. You're helping others. You help others gently and kindly in a good way with good things. That's ihsan. So you can see that it involves all of your life. But it involves 2 aspects. One which is your relationship with God, which is the acts of worship, and we need to be muhsinin. We need to have ihsan in this. And the Prophet ﷺ described or defined ihsan in the act of worship as أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. When it comes to ihsan, to be good in your prayer, to be good in your worship, to be good in your sadaqah, to be good in all your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, do it as if you can see Allah. But if you don't see Him, you will not see Him here, then remember that He sees you. Meaning that whenever you're entering an act of worship, you need to call upon this feeling or this thought of, hey, I'm doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or I'm doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm doing this to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not for Him. For me actually. But I'm doing it to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then I need to know that He is watching me. He knows what I'm doing, small and big. He knows my intention. He knows what's in my heart. He knows what are my thoughts, and so on and so forth. So when you come to that level of worshipping, you become a muhsin, and Allah loves those who are muhsinin, good doers. The other aspect of ihsan is with each other. When we are dealing with each other, we're kind to each other, we do good to each other. That's an ihsan that it's actually very important as being good and kind or perfect in our worship towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But today the khutbah is not going to be about my ihsan and your ihsan towards everybody else. It's actually towards one group or one segment of the society. When I give the first Jumu'ah, to be honest, I'm talking about myself. I was like struggling to, how do I talk to the community about this subject? And I did talk to the first Jumu'ah. Surprisingly, this is maybe one of the few Jumu'ahs that many people come to me and said that was a good Jumu'ah. Not the good Jumu'ah in the delivery of the Jumu'ah, it's actually the topic. That's a good choice of a topic. What's the topic? The topic is the segment of the community, the Muslim community, which is, that segment is neglected. We don't pay attention to this segment of our society or community, with those who have special needs, those who have disabilities. And when we talk about special needs, we're talking about special needs whether they're mental special needs or they are physical special needs. Whether they are young babies or they are old. Babies who are born with certain defect and autism, whatever it is, or they're elders who might actually have Alzheimer's or something like that. Or in between. Those who have physical disabilities, those who cannot concentrate, all kind of things. Ironically, when you go and look at the teachings of Islam, you find Islam through the Quran and through the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam paid attention to this category of people. And the irony that I mentioned is that Muslims don't. The teaching, yes. Quran, Sunnah, I will give you some examples. More ironic is that when you come to the Western societies, who don't really, most of them don't even worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't know nothing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they have this concept of al-ihsan when it comes to their people who have special needs. Or the people, not their people, the people in general. Whether it's at schools, whether it's at the hospitals, whether it's a nursing home, whatever it is, they pay good attention, they put a lot of resources to these people, this people. It's not like they are different a little bit, but they should not feel that different. We go to our masajid, for example. For our masjid, we're not talking about the handicap spots. Yes, every masjid has it because it's the law, I guess. I'm talking about more than that. I'm talking about programs for these people with special needs. I'm talking about days for these people who might need a break from people they are taking care of who have disabilities or special needs. And surprisingly, there are a lot of people in this community who are actually dealing with this kind of issues. whether it's kids with autism, whether it's kids with physical handicap, whether it's kids with mental challenges, whether it's like elders with, like I said, Alzheimer, whether elders who cannot, they don't have the physical and the mobility anymore, and so on and so forth. They are here in our community, but what we do, we keep them at home. Masjid is not theirs, because masjid is not equipped for it. Masjid does not pay attention to it, whether it's the imam, whether it's the leadership, whoever it is. I was made aware of it by an organization called Muhsen. These group of people, maybe from their own experience, maybe from learning the teaching of Rasulullah ﷺ and implementing in their life, they created an organization. An organization focused solely on the people with special needs, where they create programs for them, whether educational, whether it's to support, whether it's in the worship, whatever, in the place of worship, whatever it is. But they are actually the people who are connecting the masajid and trying to do something called masjid certification of masajid for this kind of activities. In the legs, basically limping. And those who are sick, they are not actually as obligated as someone who is fully physically sound. And that's where Islam comes in. Yani, you have a problem, then Islam gives you a waiver. Islam tries to find accommodation for you. Not Islam. Islam does not marginalize you. You know why? Because when it comes to the people, us, all of us here, we might treat each other a certain way. Some of us treat each other bad, some treat us good, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's not how you treat me and how I treat you, which is important, by the way. We should be kind and ihsan and everything. But at the end of the day, my value and your value is what do I value in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. It's not that you have special needs or not. It's not that you are handsome or not. It's not that you are physically fit or not. That's not it. It's your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal and with others, which is based on righteousness. That's how we should actually value each other. Nothing else. That's how we should look at each other. My relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. Nothing else. That's sad. But when it comes to the people of special need, we need to be compassionate. We need to be merciful, because the Prophet ﷺ is the most merciful. The Prophet ﷺ قال فيها رب العزة وجل, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, we have not sent you but mercy to mankind. And let me give you one or two examples of Rasulullah ﷺ. Rasulullah ﷺ, in the hadith of Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik was the servant of Rasulullah ﷺ. He said in this hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ assigned the task of leading at Medina in his absence to Abdullah ibn Maktoum, who was a blind man. He is the leader of Medina, top guy. But he has a special need. He has a disability. You can see. He was leading the prayer. Well, there are a lot of people. But the Prophet ﷺ wanted to make sure that we look at people not through their disabilities, but through their piety, through their righteousness. Here's Abdullah ibn Maktoum, who is blind and who is leading the community. He's replacing, or he's just taking, he's the vicegerent of Rasulullah ﷺ in Medina, in the prayer, in the deen and the dunya. Another incident happened with Rasulullah ﷺ, because when I look at this, and from brothers who are from back home, maybe now things change, but 30 years ago, people with disabilities back home, people will just make them a joke. You should find people making joke of kids. someone who is mentally challenged, he becomes the joke of the neighborhood. Instead of taking care of him, instead of being compassionate, instead of no, he becomes the joke of the neighborhood. Someone who is disabled, can't go places, he just sits home. Nobody cares, everybody going and enjoying themselves, but he's just sitting home because he doesn't have ways to go around. That's not Islam. If you go to a social gathering back home, I'm not talking about it, I don't know about it here, to be honest. But back home, if you go to a gathering and there is someone who is mentally challenged and he tries to approach you, either you're scared or you just chase him away. Look at the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith which is narrated by Imam Muslim. عن Anas said that أن امرأة, a woman, أن امرأة كان في عقلها شيء. A woman who was challenged a little bit, يعني mentally challenged. She's not 100% sane and she's not 100% crazy. يعني شوية disturbed a little mentally. She came to the Prophet ﷺ. Here is the leader of the Ummah. He is the best man who set foot on this earth. Here is a woman who is challenged mentally, trying to approach him and telling him that I need you. I need to talk to you. Do you think he said, well, I'm too big and I'm too important to be dealing with this kind of people? Do you think he said, okay, I'll just delegate someone else? I'm too important? I'm too busy? Do you think he said, well, just go later on, we'll talk? Like, just getting rid of her? Do you think he said do you think all of what scenarios that come to your mind of the behavior of us today? No, he didn't. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, قَالَ يَا أُمَّ فُلَانٍ. Even when he called her, he didn't call her so-and-so. He said, the mother of so-and-so. It's a sign of respect. Arab, when they call you the mother or the father, that's actually out of respect. When I tell you Abu Fulan or Fulan, that's respect. The Prophet ﷺ is a woman, she is mentally challenged according to the Sahabi, and he's not losing respect for her. He's not making her feel like she is less than any other woman who might approach him. He's telling her, oh, the mother of so-and-so, انظري أي سكة شئتي. Find just a place where I can talk to you, حتى لا talk to you. فخلى بها. The Prophet ﷺ went to her, talked to her, and actually, whatever the haja, whatever the need she had, it was fulfilled by the Prophet ﷺ. It was a question, it was whatever it is. And she left and he left. That's the behavior of Rasulullah ﷺ. If a challenged individual comes to the masjid today, kid who has a problem, he comes to the masjid and maybe starts screaming or something, we'll just jump on him like it's the end of the world. Or a kid, a lot of kids who have these challenges, they might be very active, like energetic. They run and we can't just why don't you keep your kids at home? Why are you bringing them to the masjid? Where do you want them to take them? Take them to the church? Because the church, they might have something for them. They're Muslims. So the point is that this is the life of Rasulullah. This is the Quran, but also, more surprises. The first leader in the world that established a financial aid for those who have disabilities was not from the West. It was a Muslim. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, in the Umayyad time, we're talking about more than 1,200 years ago, he actually called upon his rulers and so on and so forth, and he said, just give me a record, record every individual who has a disability and make sure they are financially helped. Not only financially helped. If he's blind, make sure he has a guide to take him to the masjid. If he needs help at home, make sure that such and such individual has help at home. You haven't heard about home care in the United States of America? Now, where the people that go home and take care of it. That was actually established by Umar ibn Abdul Aziz in a different way. Then, what happened to us Muslims? Again, what happened to us Muslims? We are on one track and Islam is on the other track. The only thing that we have in common is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The rest, no. When you go to, for example, the leaders among the Sahaba, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal was described by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أعلم الناس بالحلال والحرام Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Alim, scholar. Actually, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, خذوا القرآن من أربع من عبد الله بن مسعود وسالم مولى بحذيفة ومعاذ بن جبل وأبي بن كعب. Hadith muttafaq alayh, agreed upon. If you want, take the Quran. He's basically telling these are the authorities in the Quran. One of them is Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal has a disability. But his disability did not prevent him from becoming the scholar of the Ummah. Mentioned by Rasulullah that he is the leader of the scholars on the Day of Judgment. Because the Ummah, or Rasulullah did not look at his disability and marginalize him and tell him, you cannot do anything. No, he actually empowered him to become the scholar that we read about today. Abdullah ibn Abbas, at his age, later on he became also blind. But this did not keep him from becoming the greatest scholar of the Ummah. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the translator of the Quran, or the scholar of the Quran. One of the interesting scholars of the Ummah later on is Ata ibn Abi Rabah. Ata ibn Abi Rabah, the scholars, when they talk about him, they said, when you look at him, you can always see all kinds of disability in him. Yani, obvious. Yet, he became the #1 scholar in the Ummah at his time, to a point that the leaders of the Ummah envied his popularity and the respect of others to him. He was a black man with a bushy hair. That's what it is. He can see just with one eye. He's bald head, paralyzed. One of his hands are paralyzed. A'waj, limbs. Can you imagine? Look at the description of this guy. Yet, the Ummah did not say, yo, you got a lot of problems, brother. Sit home. Relax. The Ummah encouraged him to become the scholar of the Ummah, to the point that Umara, the princes and all these guys, they have no respect compared to the respect that he had received from the Ummah, from the community. Because that was the Ummah that looked at people not how they look like, what kind of disability they have. They looked at them from how much righteousness and piety they have. And that's what we need to come back to this and open our masajid and our spaces to these kids, to these elders who have disabilities, so they can learn, so they become someone, so they become the leaders that we are missing today. When we read in these books, these are not actually some people who came from a different planet. They're just people from our Muslim community, but they were a long time ago. But the principle of ihsan was there. People, they were good to them. People, they empowered them. People, they created spaces for them. And that's why this Muhsen is trying to go to the different masajid, Muhsen organization, going to the different masajid, and saying, let's create a friendly environment not to just people who are zero disability, to everyone from the Muslim community. They might not be here every day, but let's create one day for those who are challenged mentally, for those who have autism, for the parents who are taking care of their kids for 24 hours. They need a break. They're human beings. They're being tested, and the parents have been tested and being rewarded by Allah Azza wa Jalla for being good and kind to their kids. but they're human beings, they need a break. If they get the break, who will take care of the kids? Maybe programs and events will take place so they can actually leave them for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, so they can just go and see the world out there. And that's where the importance of being mindful of this segment of the society, and not just mindful of them, not just kind to them, but actually support it and creating opportunities for them to be normal members of the community, of the Muslim community, especially in this area. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. اللهم أدرم بهذه الأمة أمر يجلي ويعز بها بالطاعة ويذل بها بالمعصية. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم يا رحمن السماوات والأرض يا حي يا قيوم يا من لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. اللهم لا تدع لنا في جمعنا هذا في يومنا هذا في بيتك هذا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا ضالا إلا هديته ولا عائلا إلا أغنيته ولا مدينا إلا قضيت عنه دينه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المرابطين. اللهم تقبل شهداءهم وداوي جرحاهم وواسي أراملهم وإيتاهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اخذل من خذلهم. اللهم اغفر من خذلهم يا رب العالمين. وصل اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وأقم الصلاة.